can even watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Mark
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm Jimmy Murphy. We will be joined by my co-host, Pierre McGuire, in a bit. He's just having some connection issues. He will be joining us shortly. And today we've got a good guest coming on. We haven't really talked about the Florida Panthers that much. And that's a shame considering they are, currently the best team in the NHL, standings wise. So I figured we'd welcome on my good friend and colleague, part of the National Hockey Now Network, which I am part of with Boston Hockey Now, bringing on George Richards, who's covered the Panthers forever, but thankfully now covers the Florida Panthers along with Colby Guy for Florida Hockey Now. Check him out there. So we're going to talk some Panthers with George in a bit. And there he is. There's the man. Pierre McGuire joining us right here on the Eye Test. Pierre, how you doing?
I'm well. I just ran upstairs. I was doing an autograph session with all the former Pittsburgh Penguins, Mario Lemieux, Craig Patrick, Brian Trottier, Joey Mullen, Kevin Stevens. Kevin's actually going to be listening to us live when he's working out in the gym here. He wanted me to tell you that, Jimmy. He's diligently working away. Tyler Kennedy, Ryan Malone. Dougie Gilmore made a special appearance here today. Grant Fuhr. We've got a murderer's row of guests. It's been phenomenal. And I got to tell you, over the last 3 days, I've had such a great time visiting with Craig Patrick, my former boss. And just what an amazing hockey man. So many great stories about the 80 Olympics, his time as a general manager of the New York Rangers, obviously his amazing Hall of Fame career in Pittsburgh, his time as a player at the University of Denver. I mean, it's been just a whirlwind of hockey information from him, and I've had a delightful time visiting with Craig the entire week, so it's been good.
That's awesome, and he's just such a hockey genius, Pierre. And I think for GMs out there right now, young GMs specifically, it would be a smart move if they can ever get the chance to pick his brain. He's got such a wealth of hockey knowledge, and people will say, well, it's a different game now because there's a salary cap and all that. But I poo-poo on that because I think he could still help for sure.
Oh my goodness gracious. He's 77 years of age. He reminds me a lot of Scotty Bowman, who's 90. They're always watching games. They're always searching for new ways of doing business. They're always looking for more and more information. And like I said, I'm probably smiling like a butcher's dog, to coin a phrase of the great Mike Lang here in Pittsburgh, just because it's been such a great trip down memory lane. I'm so grateful to Mario for including me in these camps, and it does so much for the local community. It does so much in terms of helping less fortunate people. And the players that come here, just to see the passion they have, and the players, we have 75 players from all around the world.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing, Jimmy. It really is. And Mario never takes a day off at this thing. It's awesome to see what he does and what he puts into it. It really is.
That's great. Good stuff, Pierre. Good stuff. Now, Pierre, I know you have been a busy bee, but I'm wondering, did you get a chance to watch the video of Matt Rempe?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm going to tell you this. I like physical hockey. I didn't like that. And I know people are saying, well, he's 6'8" and the other guy's 6'3" and all this. No, if you watch that, it's a left-hand shot, and Jonas Siegenthaler, he's coming down the left side of the ice. He's trying to gain the line, so he's making a responsible play, so it's not icing. He shoots the puck in, probably a very good shoot in, and Rempe doesn't stop. And you can count 1,001, 1,002, and you're right on the edge of, that's almost being a late hit. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he was engaged to make the hit. Where I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt is the elbow coming up, 100%. So if he keeps that elbow like Scott Stevens used to do, keeps that elbow down, Jimmy, there's no problem there.
Yeah.
Then it's just a good hard hockey play, and nobody has an issue. That elbow came up. I don't care what anybody says about 6'8". Anybody that's played at a high level knows that elbow came up.
All right, let's go to the clip afterwards, like immediate aftermath, and we'll talk about it in a second.
Okay.
And Rempe gets a penalty here. Siegenthaler.
McDermott is chasing after Rempe. And then he doesn't need to get involved with Rempe. McDermott.
Well, let's see if McDermott doesn't even things up here. So Rempe with 20 29.3 seconds, gets the first penalty. And then McDermott goes off also, so he'll get penalized. And Siegenthaler heads off. Siegenthaler saw Rempe come. Watch, he tries to get out of the way.
Penalty 5 minutes for elbowing. The play is under review.
Oh, he gets looked like the left elbow. Caught him right on the jaw. Here's another look. Yeah, he gets a left elbow up. And that.
Well, you can see right in the picture there, Pierre, that we had posted as we played that audio. I mean, it's clear as day that elbow's there. But what gets me just as much almost is his response afterwards. And now look, I'm gonna give him a mulligan here because he's young. He's maybe a little immature. But he needs to learn never to do what he did again in the aftermath of that, when he's going like this to McDermott and making faces at him and taunting him. Like, listen, you're going to do something like that. I'm sorry. Face the music. And he better, the next time he play, he owes it to himself, first of all, to show the rest of the world that he's not, a dirty guy, that he's going to face the music for a mistake. And he owes it to the game. I mean, that's just, I thought it was despicable the way he acted. But again, I understand he's young. I'm gonna give him some leeway here, Pierre. But we've said it already, just with the amount of fights he was getting in. But even now, you add this on top of it. He needs to reel it in again, because if he doesn't, as you and I both agreed off the air earlier today, he's in for a rude awakening. He's not going to last long in this league.
No, all those older players that I spent the last couple days with, that was one of the things we talked about this morning at the rink. And, he's not going to last long. And he should last long because he looks like he's got a chance to be a good player. Yes. He really does. He does. A very useful player. So this is the second time against the New Jersey Devils that he's had high hits. The first one was against Nathan Bastian, and now you got this one on Jonas Siegenthaler. I didn't like the reaction afterwards as well, Jimmy. I'm not going to lie to you. Even when we started the show, I said, Jimmy, there's certain standards we're going to live by on this show. Remember when we talked about the standards? And you've done it, and I think the show's been the beneficiary of the standards that we've tried to create as a team, you and I.
Mm-hmm. I
think the Rangers are a high-standard team. I do. You don't have to like the Rangers, but they have high standards. And it starts in the manager's office. Chris Drury's a standards guy. He is. It's the way he played. Mm-hmm. That's the way he played at BU. That's the way he played in Colorado. It's the way he played in Calgary. It's the way he played in Buffalo. It's the way he played in New Jersey. It's the way he played in the Olympics. He's a standards guy. That was not the standard the Rangers want to have. They don't need circus clowns. No. And he doesn't have to be that.
No. And
he just doesn't have to be that.
So this is another thing too, Pierre, is, we're tied into Montreal there, and I'm always listening to our friends up there in TSN 690. So I'm driving around getting things done before I head up there tomorrow. And, I'm listening to John Stills filling in for Mitch Melnick today. And, he made a good point where he's like, this guy is going to become a laughing stock if he acts like that continually. Like, he's got to understand that, like you just said, he's got the size, and if he listens to the veterans on his team, the coaches, what have you, like you said, he has the ability to become something in this league. But my thing is, Pierre, has the league, and we're going to see with the way they handle this punishment, I'm very surprised they didn't get an in-person hearing. It was only a hearing, which means it's likely under 5 games. But is the league going to make an example here and say that we don't tolerate this? Or is the league seeing the buzz that he creates and has brought back? They're bringing fans in that maybe left the game that loved all that crazy stuff from the 80s and the 70s. Are they going to be a little lenient on him because of that? Because sadly, it's marketing. People love violence. People love stuff like that, unfortunately. It's going to be very interesting to me to see how the league handles it, Pierre.
I'll tell you how I would handle it internally if I were a member of the New York Rangers. I would make a tape of 4 of Michael Pekka's largest hits in the course of his career.
Yep.
Okay? This is what I would do. And then I'd have Michael Pekka ask Matthew Rempe to come to the video room.
Uh-huh.
Nobody else. Just Rempe and Pekka. And Michael say, you're 6'7", I'm 5'10". You're 245 pounds, I was 175 pounds. I lasted in the league for almost 1,000 games. I won an Olympic gold medal in 2002. I want you to have a long career. So this is how I think you need to pursue it. Mm-hmm. Michael never taunted anybody. Michael never harassed anybody. Would he drive Darcy Tucker nuts? He would. Would Darcy Tucker try to drive him nuts? Yes, he did. They were about the same size and they played the same way, and it was an amazing contest. But you would never find one coach or one teammate of Michael Pekka who would say, boy, he's acting like a circus clown. You would never, ever find one teammate that would say that, or coaching staff. Yeah. So that's, how do you create standards in an organization? That's one of the ways.
Okay.
And that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I hate to keep going there, and I hope I'm not bothering people by saying this. Brian Trottier, to me, changed our whole dynamic in Pittsburgh from 1990 to 1992. He did. I was there. I talked to Brian about it all the time. I talked to him about it this morning. Mm-hmm. And he came up to me and said, I really liked what you did today in your game by allowing a player on the other team an opportunity to score. I told my guys, just back off, because it's a person that, obviously isn't a very gifted player, but he had a chance to score because my guys kind of let him get there to the net. And Brian talked to me. He says, that was really good. That was good. I like that. So that's what I'm saying. So you try to create these standards. And so I would do that if I were the Rangers. Michael Pekka is such a mild-mannered, not braggadocious person. I don't think he would come up with that because he just wouldn't want to do it his way. But if I were Peter Laviolette or Chris Drury, that's what I would do.
Hey, guys. Yeah, that would be great. I'm with you. Well, let's switch gears, talk some Florida Panthers now with our good friend George Richards of Florida Hockey Now, joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Oh, look at that shirt. I like the shirt there, George. Nice. I gotta
Hockey get under the palm trees. Hey, George, you remember the good old days in Tampa when they were playing in the fairgrounds and guys were working on their sticks under the palm trees?
Yeah. Those are the good old days.
Oh, my goodness, Jimmy, I'm just telling you. We get there. I think we played one of the first games at the old fairgrounds in Tampa.
Yeah.
And I say to our trainer at the time, I said, where are the guys going? Why are they going outside? He goes, it's the only place to work on your sticks.
People
they had a thing underneath the palm trees there. I'm not kidding you.
People complain right now about, Arizona and playing in Tempe. Obviously, never saw where Tampa started or where San Jose started. Where the Panthers started. That wasn't, Miami Arena. At least it held 15,000 people, but that was a little hovel that the players were changing in. So times have changed, and I get all that. But I'm just saying, it's a lot. It's a lot worse than Tempe. Trust me.
Where was this guy? So didn't they start in a dome or no?
No, that was their second home.
Oh wow!
Their first home was the Tampa Fairgrounds. Okay. Yeah. George, my first ever career NHL head coaching win was in old Miami Arena. Roger Nielsen was coaching the Panthers, and I was coaching Hartford, and Robert Cron scored on Van Briesbroek with the game-winning goal in overtime. But what I remember the most, George, there was a beautiful woman that sat right behind our bench every time we went there, and she is an elite golfer, Jan Stevenson. She was a season ticket holder. And every time I'd say to they didn't believe me, like the players didn't know. I said, they were looking at me. I said, she's like a world-class golfer. You guys don't know. She's on the LPGA tour. Like, she's really good. And they were like, no. I'm like, yes.
That was one of the nice things about Miami Arena was walking around the concourse during intermissions. It was crowded, but yeah, it was fun in Miami, the old Miami Arena days. So
it was.
Good sight. So how you doing, George? How's life?
Just hanging around, watching some hockey with the Panthers. It's been pretty good for them lately, and seeing what's going to happen here going into the playoffs.
Well, one thing I want to ask you, George, right off the bat here is what's the latest on Aaron Ekblad?
Aaron Ekblad had the knee-on-knee collision, friendly fire with Vladimir Tarasenko during the first period Saturday night against Calgary. He's out. Paul Maurice says 2 weeks. That's kind of a starting point. They're in no rush to get him back. And like Paul explained yesterday, with the injuries that Aaron Ekblad played through last year, just leading into the playoffs, not to mention what he sustained in the playoffs. Give the guy some time. So they're not rushing him back. They're hoping, 1st of April, but, whenever. So
and given too, I mean, the way they did play without him earlier in the season, and just the collective effort that they've done to replace him at times, I would think they're pretty comfortable. You're never comfortable not having your best defenseman, but you know what I mean.
No, because you looked. I mean, coming into the season, it was such a question mark around the Panthers. What are they going to do defensively without Ekblad, without Brandon Montour? And it looked like just a piecemeal defense that Bill Zito put together in the offseason, but it worked great. They honestly didn't skip a beat. So you're gonna move Oliver Ekman-Larsson back up to the top pairing with Gus Forsling, where he excelled with Forsling, for the first month and a half of the season. So those guys go back together, and Josh Mahura, a guy who's played all 82 games last year, all of the playoff games, but has played like twice in the past 6 weeks. He gets back in on the bottom pairing with Dmitry Kulikov. So, and you still got Brandon Montour, who's red hot right now. So
good stuff, Pierre.
George, I got to ask you, was everybody in Florida expecting Anthony Stolarz to be this good?
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, because you look at the guy, he's, and it doesn't help that he didn't play a whole lot in Philadelphia a few years back, and then he was the backup in Anaheim. And, honestly, not a lot of people down here are watching Anaheim games. And last year, he ended the season, he was hurt, so he didn't even play the final couple months of the season. But he was a guy, all right, that the Panthers targeted during the offseason. Everybody loved Alex Lyon. Everybody loves Alex Lyon. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But the Panthers goalie department felt that position needed an upgrade and targeted Anthony Stolarz to be the guy. They wanted a guy who had been through the NHL as a backup that knows how to handle it all the time. And nothing bad towards Alex Lyon, but they thought Stolarz would fit perfectly with how they wanted to load manage, if you will, Sergei Bobrovsky. And man, has it worked out. I mean, it is honestly, and like Paul Maurice said, he's got a backup that has elite NHL numbers, and it's not like he's played 8 games. He's played quite a few games, and he leads the NHL in save percentage and goals against, and he's just been terrific.
I've been watching him play since he was in Nebraska, Omaha, and I got to tell you, I was always surprised that he never took that next step. And George just touched on it. He was always a backup, or he was never getting the right amount of reps. Now he's getting them, and you can see the difference, Jimmy, in his game. The other thing I wanted to ask you, George, you get to see the guy play every night, and I watch all the Florida games like Jimmy does. Can you tell our viewers and listeners how good Sasha Barkov is?
First off, go Mavericks, right?
Like that.
Sasha Barkov, underrated, overrated, I don't know. I mean, my gosh. I mean, if this guy doesn't win the Selke this year by, 200 votes, I mean, it's highway robbery. He is so good. The things that he does every single night, and he's the one guy that when the Panthers play somebody, an opposing coach, he's the first guy they mention because he's the guy you watch. And the things that he does, he centers the top line with Sam Reinhart, and now with Vladimir Tarasenko. Yeah, I mean, that's always been the thing. It's always been, except for Carter Verhaeghe, they've really mixed and matched that line. Barkov plays with anybody. It doesn't matter. You could put he'll play with anybody. He doesn't care. He wants to make them better. And he wouldn't try to carry the line either. That's the thing. He could have fourth liners on there and he'd be passing it to them. Go get that goal. Go get the goal. Here you go. He's terrific. He's terrific in all 200-foot game plus. I mean, he kills the penalties. He drives the power play. I mean, he just does everything. I mean, Sasha Barkov is an absolute complete hockey player with phenomenal skills. If he did shoot the puck more, he'd be a 40-goal guy. You look at his numbers in his career, and you're kind of like, okay, what's he got? Like a career high 92 92 points, 94 points, something like that. And that was 4 years ago. But he just quietly goes about his business and plays the best game he can. He's a phenomenal player.
Well,
Jimmy, you know what? Before you take over,
yeah,
just want to give credit where credit's due. There were a lot of different directions the Florida Panthers could have gone when they chose Barkov number 2. Dale Talon never, ever, ever got enough credit for the drafting of Sasha Barkov.
Well, let's look at. But no, I agree with you. Listen, Dale Talon, got advice from what's his name? Yarmo's brother,
Yanni.
Eric Kokalainen. This guy is ready to play in the NHL, and that's something. Okay, we didn't know at the time in that draft. The Panthers were for sale. We did not know that. Stephen Weiss was a free agent, and Dale was like, yeah, we're going to talk. We got a contract, and all this. But they had no money to give Stephen Weiss. So they were losing their top center that year. Sasha Barkov, they draft him to replace Stephen Weiss. It was kind of a surprise. Everybody thought Seth Jones, the number 1 guy, he doesn't get taken one. Okay, so at number 2, Seth Jones, you get the good defenseman. And Florida's like, no, we're taking the kid out of Finland, who's a man right now. He's playing in a men's league and tearing it up. And he's going to be our center for the future. And my gosh, has it worked out. Now, Seth Jones would have been fine here. No doubt about it. But Sasha Barkov, you got a franchise centerpiece. So good on Dale, good on the scouting staff. And good for Sasha Barkov, because he's really become part of this community. And like he says, he's from Tampere, Finland, but this is home.
It just, and one more thing on Barkov, and we'll move on. And just one thing I noticed, I remember, we do our dailies there for Hockey Now all the time. So I'll scan through all the different articles every morning. And I remember seeing that article that Barkov hadn't scored in a month, but it was like, it was no big deal because, he's doing everything else right.
Yeah.
And that's just how good a player is. When people don't make a big deal of somebody not scoring in a month,
right?
They got to be a good.
We didn't even, until you looked at the numbers, you're like, oh geez, it's been 14 games, but he's got 22 points.
Yeah. I thought that kind of spoke volumes of just, everything he does right. It's so good. And obviously too, and Bruins fans will try and say it's not fair and it's a disrespect to Bergeron to compare him. He is. He's a great comparison in my eyes to Patrice Bergeron. And I think he's good for the league after they lost Bergeron, because he still gives the league that type of player that is the model 200-foot player. He's got class on and off the ice. He's a good, like you just said, he's great in the community. He's a great representative of his team and his home country. So I think it's a great comparison, and you guys are lucky to have him.
Yeah, Anze Kopitar as well. Same kind of. That's one of the players that Sasha really looks up to, and you can see a lot of similarities there as well. But yeah, absolutely. And now the Selke. I mean,
yeah, maybe he takes the torch now, eh? Like.
I mean, if Barkov stays healthy, and that's the thing. Last year he wasn't healthy. He had the pneumonia.
Yeah,
it cost him a lot of games. He probably would have won the Selke last year, but missed too many games. But there's no doubt about it. You want to talk about a defensive forward, Sasha Barkov.
Yep, a class act. Hey, I want to, before we go back to goalies for a bit there too. Any update on what is going on with Spencer Knight, and maybe where he's headed right now in his career?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's down in Charlotte playing in the AHL. His goalie coach is Leo Luongo. You may know his older brother, Roberto.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, you might have heard of him. No, everything's going good. Listen, they're everything's cool. Spencer Knight is, getting his game together and just playing hockey.
Yeah.
And listen, it's been a difficult couple years for Spencer Knight. He came out, he went into the player assistant program and said that was because of the ADD that he had, that he had the trouble dealing with. There's also some thoughts that he had trouble dealing with the, not succeeding at the NHL level like perhaps he had hoped. I mean, this guy since 10,
so
11,
high. Yeah.
10, 11, 12 years old. You're the gold standard. You're the guy. You're the guy. You're the guy. He comes here in the COVID year of 2021 and wins a playoff game for the Panthers. He's the backup goalie at age, the next year at age 21, whatever it is. He's a kid. And then last year he has a run where he's the starter. He's the starter over Bob in the then Bob kind of gets back in there and it doesn't go. So anyway, he had to work through some things, and it's development. Long story short, goalies take some time to develop. Now, maybe in the past couple of years, we've seen some goalies on a fast track, and Spencer Knight's one of those guys. He only spent 2 years at Boston College, and that was during COVID, so he didn't even get a whole lot of games at BC. So yeah, everything's cool. I mean, the Panthers love him. He's their guy. And again, working with the goalie department here in Florida with Roberto Luongo, with Rob Tallis, the goalie coach, Francois Allaire, and Leo Luongo is a big part of that. He's with Spencer Knight every single day, every single game. They're cool. They're good.
Good to hear. Pierre,
what's it like to have the fans back at what used to be called the National Car Rental Center?
Yeah, the Office Depot Center. The what else word was it? It was the Bank Atlantic.
What is it now?
It was Florida FLA Live Arena when they didn't have a name, and yeah, now it's another bank down here. Tell you what, it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, you guys know the old joke. You guys have hung around with me a few times, and my joke is always, but on a Tuesday night against Ottawa, that was always the thing. 7,500 people on a Tuesday night against Ottawa. A couple weeks ago, it was a Tuesday night, and Ottawa was here, and they had 19,000 people.
Wow.
So you can't even make that
joke
anymore. So, yeah, and I'm not making fun of Ottawa. It's just it's just not a team that doesn't have a big following down here, as opposed to Toronto or Montreal. But it's been crazy. I mean, they've had great crowds. They sold out for the first time season tickets in the lower bowl. So all they had to sell, all they've had to sell, is upper level seats. And this is a barn. You guys have both been here. They built a 20,000 seat hockey arena on the edge of the Everglades for a hockey team in the Miami area. That didn't work. So now it's filling up. Because you've seen this place. If there are 13,000 people in this place, it looks like there's 50. They've got the fancy pants bar right in the camera view where it always looks like it's empty, even though they're all up, eating sushi and drinking. So this place does get a bad rap. Even when there's 17, 18,000 in here, it doesn't look full because of that bar, the Club Red. But it's been fun. The team has really done a great job marketing itself in the community. And Pierre, how many times did we talk about this? Sustained success here in Florida. Not just go to the playoffs in 2012, because 13, they're a last place team again. And then they're 14, they're in last place. Then they're back in the playoffs in 16, and then everything gets messed up again. This team has been sustained success year after year after year. For the first time in this franchise's history, they made the playoffs 3 straight years. For the first, and now it's 4. Now it's 5. People can believe in the Panthers now where they never did before. The Panthers did not have the benefit of the doubt, because why would they? And now you see Vinny Viola's ownership, Bill Zito's leadership, the front office that he has built. Even in that locker room at the trade deadline, I was talking with Bill. I was like, even the players are like, yeah, whatever Bill does, yeah, it'll work. He's got that kind of deal in the locker room. Or maybe it wasn't there in 2021, his first year. Well, yeah, who'd they pick up? Now it's like, oh yeah, you picked a guy off of waivers. Yeah, he'll probably be the next Forsling. So yeah, great, terrific,
good stuff. Stuff. Yeah, you look at that run too last year, and I think that's a great point by you. You date back a lot of people during that run that was going on for the Panthers last year, George. There was so many, throwbacks to what happened in '96, but unlike then, it's just building something. It's going to stay for now. You can feel that, and that's great to see for that community and their fans. And I'll tell you, a lot of my friends who are Bruins fans always loved going down there because it was so easy to get tickets.
Right.
They told me this season they've had a hard time getting tickets. So it tells you, like, it's not going to be – I know there's a lot of Boston transplants, so you're going to get them all the time, but it's not going to be the dominant, 80-20 Bruins fans or 80-20 Habs or 80-20 Leafs. It's much more of a split, if not more Panthers now, I imagine, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty good. You saw it in the playoffs last year. Boston was here the first round. By the time Game 6 came around, it was all Panther fans again, and then you had Toronto, and
that's because the Bruins fans are pissing their pants.
Yeah, there was a good amount of Toronto fans here for round 2, mostly because it is cheaper to get a flight from Toronto and fly to South Florida.
It's crazy.
And go to a hockey game than it is to buy a playoff ticket, a second round playoff ticket in Toronto. But by the Eastern Conference Finals, it's Carolina, it's all Florida fans, and it really was noticeable, and it was noticeable by the players and the coaches, and they all loved it. And now they're having a big old party down here with the hockey team.
Speaking of dollars, how many dollars is potential unrestricted free agent Sam Reinhart going to get?
He's going to get paid, right? I mean, he's making what's his cap hit? Murph, you're big on this, right?
I don't even know off the top of my head. I apologize. I'll pull it up.
I should. That's how much I pay attention. 6.5, I think is what Reinhart signed for 3 years ago. He got a 3-year deal from Florida after the trade from Buffalo. That's expiring. He is absolutely
right on the money, George. 6.5.
6.5. And yeah, he's outplayed that contract this year, no doubt about it. And he's going to get paid, but how much? Now, here's the question mark. What's he going to get on the open market compared to what Florida can pay him? I'm thinking Florida can give him 9.5. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty healthy raise over 6.5.
But
there's one other good thing. There's no state income tax.
There we go.
That's why I'm saying 9.5 might do it, as opposed to 10.5 in Pittsburgh.
9.5 there is like 10.5 in California or something.
Especially when you factor because listen, our property taxes are out of control down here. Our insurance is crazy. We got some weird stuff going on down here. Let's not kid ourselves. Mm-hmm. But these guys already own their houses. They've already got that stuff. So when you factor in, I'm going to have to move. I got all this. I love it here. That kind of thing. I talked to Gus Forsling yesterday about it, and it was an off-the-record conversation, but I don't think he'll mind me sharing it. He was just like, yeah, my agent was like, yeah, I might have gotten more money if I was a free agent, but I love it here. I love playing with this team. I love Fort Lauderdale. Who does? It's great. So anyways, what I'm saying is he might get $10-11 million out on the open market. I don't know. Maybe he gets 12-13, and that's life-changing money when you start looking at that kind of stuff. The other thing with Reinhart is he was, right or wrong, he was miserable in Buffalo. Miserable. And it had nothing to do with the city of Buffalo, or it was just the losing, right? They went they're still in the midst of it. They haven't made the playoffs.
Yep.
He's not a grass is always greener guy. He sees what he knows what he's got right now. He feels great about it. And he took a risk coming to Florida. Because again, they weren't established. They, it was coming out of COVID. They had the 1 year, lost to Tampa in the first round, and here comes Sam Reinhart, and it's been nothing but pretty good success for Florida since. So I think when you factor all that together, the Panthers can get something done with Sam Reinhart. I think they're going to offer him a fair contract. Bill Zito says it all the time. We want guys who want to be Panthers. We have guys who want to be Panthers, and we're going to pay them a fair wage. Now, Sergei Bobrovsky makes $10 million. Sasha Barkov makes $10 million. Matthew Tkachuk makes $9.5 million. So where do you put in Sam Reinhart? Now, we have a new salary cap, so I don't know if those rules apply, and I don't know if you can use those numbers as a governor if the salary cap keeps going up. But right this minute, I think you keep him around where Tkachuk is, 9.5.
Yeah. You might have to move a guy out or two, but
you've already got Forsling done, and maybe you can get Montour at a similar number is Forsling, and then you're cooking. Then you've got it down. before, when the first month of the season, my numbers were 8.5 for Reinhardt, 7 for Montour, 6 for Forsling. Forsling 5.75, got an 8-year deal. Now I think maybe 6. You take maybe you give Montour 6 and you give that extra $1 million, and then you got it. So we'll see how it goes.
We'll see. One thing I think too, Pierre, and you can probably expand on this too. I feel like in the last few years, a lot of players, they get to his age, right? You're 28, 29, 30. And you already said he's already been on another team. I think guys are starting to value the value of staying put and of finding a fit and understanding that, like you just said, it's not always green on the other side. Yeah, I may get more money, but I've got such good chemistry with these guys here, and I like everything around it, all the aspects of being here. I think that factors in now, guys. I really do. I mean, I know we're talking big money, but these guys know how much money can you make in your life, right? And spend. Like, I think they want to get their value, but I also think that guys are starting to realize how important fit is.
One of the things that changed for Florida, I'd be curious to hear what George has to say, because he's there all the time. When they got Matthew Tkachuk,
oh gosh,
that changed a lot of the rules of the game
It did.
for the Florida Panthers. I don't know if George agrees or not.
100%.
It made them bigger.
The guy, he's bigger than life, but he's not an a-hole. You know what I mean? He's larger than, he's the guy that everybody circles around and follows. And the first guy that he really started hanging out with was Aaron Ekblad, and Aaron Ekblad's kind of the ringleader of the Panthers. So between the two of them, they've got Matthew Tkachuk's got like Animal House going on in his place in Fort Lauderdale, like all the time, right? He's got the golf cart that he cruises up and down A1A. He's got the Tkachuk family staying there. So all the Panthers are staying there. You got Nick Cousins. Yeah, the whole world is over there. It did change things, because this guy comes in here and he's just everybody's buddy. He's everybody's pal, from everybody on the team to the trainers. That's what I don't know if it was Bill or Paul who said it. He goes, the first thing this kid did come in here was take the trainers out to dinner. Middle of summer, he's taking the equipment guys out for steaks.
Yeah.
Class.
So those are the,
and that's something he got from his dad.
Yeah. 100. So these are the standards that I talk about all the time. Right. And so if you're a kid that didn't grow up in a hockey house, you might not know that's the proper protocol. Right. But he grows up in a hockey house and he sees how his dad treated the trainers in Winnipeg or in Arizona or in St. Louis. And I can just tell you, it reverberates. It changes the dynamic. Because if the trainers are on board, everybody's on board. They're the most underrated people in an organization. George knows what I'm talking about.
Everybody loves them. Those guys work the hardest.
They're the most underrated guys in the organization.
They're the glue of the dressing room.
They really are.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and Florida has a good bunch, just like every other team does. Every team in the land has a great, because it doesn't work if they're not right.
I totally agree.
If you were running a team and you had a bunch of, if you had some, what do you call it, equipment guys that fought all the time and weren't, were just, it ain't gonna work, because those guys, it's 3 a.m. and they're washing jerseys. You got to have a different mentality to do it. So
yeah, I agree.
One more thing before we let you go, George. Just Paul Maurice. Just, give us a couple words to describe him in your opinion. I mean, man, it was great being able to cover here. I always used to love it when the Bruins were playing Carolina a couple times in the playoffs, and then to be able to do it again last year, just for those few games, in the first round. He's just such a joy to cover as a reporter. Yeah. Just expand more about what he's meant to this culture down there.
Well, the guys believed in it, right? I mean, but I don't know if they believed in it, but they figured the guy's so stubborn and he ain't going to change, so we might as well get with the program.
Yeah.
He came in here and changed everything, right? I mean, you look at this team, they won the President's Cup, President's Trophy. They had, 122 points, and the Panthers make a coaching change. And they bring in Paul Maurice, a veteran guy. Hey, Paul, we need to run a certain way. And Paul's like, yeah, that's how we're going to run. We're going to run. And he wasn't afraid to go through a 5-game losing streak and say, all right, we've lost 5 in a row. Let's change it back to the way it was and forget about it. Nope. If we lose 6 straight, we lose, and eventually now you look at this Panther team, they played playoff hockey since game 1 of this season. The playoffs ended in Vegas, but they continued on for the Panthers in October. They've been playing playoff hockey since October, and their style is, hard to do, and these guys love it. They love seeing the results, and it's just really worked out. And listen, the guys love Paul. They know he's been through everything. I mean, he started, 97, 96 was his first year. I mean, that's when the Panthers went to the Cup. He was the coach of the Hartford Whalers. I mean, it's kind of like covering Pete DeBoer again, but, not as angry, because Pete took losses real personal, and and I can understand this was a different era down here when Pete was the coach, and he'd readily admit that. But those two are so tight, and you can hear some of Pete come out, but I'm sure that came from Paul. So Paul was the originator of it. Pete just adopted it. So I'm like, who's copying who? But great guy to deal with, very open. And he's really done a great job with this team, and the players dig playing for him.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, we appreciate you joining us, George.
George, awesome.
Keep up the great work at Florida Hockey Now. And by the way, breaking news here: Matt Rempe 4-game suspension for his hit. But we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in a bit with our listeners and viewers in the comments section. George, have a good one.
Thanks,
we'll see you down the road, brother.
Good seeing you, Pierre.
Thanks,
Love you,
George.
Murph.
All right, buddy.
Cheers.
Love the little the graphics he's got going in the screen there.
I've known George.
Up and the fireworks.
Yeah. So you get to know a guy over time, right? And George was always honorable to deal with over all the course of my career, whether I was coaching or scouting or broadcasting. It didn't matter. He was the same guy. You go to Florida, you talk to George, and you kind of knew what was right and what was wrong,
Yeah. His
and
head never got big.
They had to deal with some bad stuff down there. They had some shady stuff going on in Florida for a long time.
Yep.
In terms of where the team was, how they were playing, who was running them, who was owning them. They had some really strange stuff going on there. And George never lost his way. Yep. He was always really good about dealing with people.
Yep. And I'm glad to see my old friend and your old friend Sean Thornton part of that organization as well. Forty's doing a great job now. We got to get him on the
show. Did you steal that hat from him?
No. I started this, Pierre. He stole the look from me.
Thordy used to come to the house for dinner a lot whatever team he was on, come over in Montreal, and we'd have some very nice dinners. I'm a big fan of Sean. Like him a lot.
We don't have time, but I'll just say, and remind me sometime, we'll tell our listeners too, the trip to Prague, I unfortunately wasn't there. Imagine that, James Patrick Murphy not there for the Belfast part, but apparently Thordy was the tour guide, and he was taking them all over the place. The team was getting home-cooked meals in these little houses and villages, and they said it was great. So
I was on the phone with Recchi that whole time, and Thornton, and I wasn't obviously over there because I was pretty busy over here. But they were, oh my gosh, there were times I'd be like, okay, boys, it's time to go to bed now. It's time to go to bed. I'm not working with you, but I love you to death, and it's time to go to bed, man. Let's go.
I'll let Thornton come on and tell the story about the team photo there. That's a good one. All right, let's switch it over. Now, again, 4-game suspension for Matt Rempe. I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers want to talk about that. What do we got in the question department here, folks? All right, A to Z me. Reinhardt's shooting percentage is close to 30%. That's insane and highly unsustainable. Some team is going to seriously overpay for a 25 to 30 goal guy, in my opinion. I don't doubt that some team is going to throw back up the Brinks truck for him, but I think, like George said, he found a niche there. He's found his home, and I think that will play a major role in his decision.
Well, when you play on a line with Sasha Barkov, it'd be silly to leave. There are very few players in the league that are better than him.
Right.
And so when you look where also Sammy plays on the power play, it'd be silly for him. Like, he's really comfortable in that upper slot area, and his release point on his shot is really good. I think he's more of a 30 to 40 goal scorer. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's a pure 50 guy, but 30 to 40 goals, a lot of goals for any player in the league.
Yeah.
So, he's going to get paid. And I don't think he's going to leave Florida. I personally don't.
I think he stays. I do think they'll have to make a deal or two to accommodate it a bit. The one thing I didn't even ask George about it is how close he felt they were to Noah Hannafin. And I wonder if he hits the market, does Zito try to go after him or Kenny? That will be interesting to see. Does he have the time to do it?
I don't know if they're going to have the dough to do that. Yeah. It'll be interesting.
I think he stays in Vegas, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Jeffrey B. As a young player without any previous suspension history, 4 games feels a bit high to send Rempe a message. Thoughts?
No,
I think it's perfect.
I think it's right on. I think it's right on.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm not saying what he did was bad. I do too. The Bastion hit, I gave him the benefit of the doubt on that one. I did. Mm-hmm. You remember we talked about it on the show. I said, okay, just Bastion put himself in a tough spot and he had his head down, and I get it. But this one, no way. He raised that elbow. that was a predatory play. That was a bad play.
That was definitely.
Hey, I'll tell you this. If that was one of my players, we would be having a discussion.
Yeah. Yep.
Can't do that. Just can't do that.
I'm with you. Now you know what? We'll talk about it off air. All right. Next question. I don't want to sidetrack anymore because we're up against it. John Smith, what do you guys think Hudson and Reinbacher's ceiling is points-wise in the NHL? And do you think Mailloux is a starter on the Habs roster as early as next year? Glad I found you guys. Cheers. John, we're glad we found you. And can you please somehow get that picture to us in your profile there? Get your handle picture. Hit me up on Twitter. I'll friend you, and that way you can DM me, all right? I want that picture for Pierre.
Yeah, because I want to give it to Brian.
Yeah, he'll give it to Trot. So you got to give it to him.
Last night at the camp that I'm working, Mario took all the guys to dinner at the Duquesne Club, which is a legendary place in Pittsburgh. I mean, it is an amazingly historical, beautiful place. Our dinner was phenomenal. And Brian and I sat together on the bus going down, and we were just telling stories. We said the last time we were on a bus together was probably when we won the cup. And we probably don't remember where we were sitting, but it was awesome. Trotz is amazing, and I'd love to get that picture to Brian. I really would.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the question.
Yeah.
So I think Mailloux will play. I think Mailloux will play for the Montreal Canadiens next year. I don't want to put points on Reinbacher or on Hudson, but what I will say, I'll say this: I think if Hudson plays on the Canadiens power play, they're a top 10 power play in the NHL. Okay, so I don't want to equate individual points. I'll just say as a team, I think he will help make them a top 10 power play in the league with consistency. And that's a really effective weapon for a team like Montreal that's going to be still a little offensively challenged after their first line.
And Pierre, I think we have been very consistent in saying that we think in terms of prospects right now, I mean, the blue line is where their strength is. And they've just got so much talent coming up through the pipeline there. So I think you're going to see a lot of good things coming in Montreal soon. Are they going to the playoffs next year? Maybe. Who knows? We'll see what they do in the offseason. But the future's bright. Just keep hanging in there, Habs fans. It's coming. It's coming. All right, next question. Donald Ray, how many teams do you think the NHL will expand to? 36.
So right now, I was going to say we're at 32 right now, 4 more, so 36.
And by the way, Pierre, we didn't mention it before on that note, and that might be why John was asking that. I think it was Elliot Friedman reporting today. I don't know if you saw it, that the Atlanta ownership group that wants a team back there has formally requested to get the process going with the NHL. So
I spoke about that with Craig Patrick today.
Mm-hmm.
This is their last chance in Atlanta.
It looks like it's happening.
It's their last chance. I'm just going to tell you right now.
It's
so
3 times, 3 strikes.
If they can't get it done now, then they'll never get it done. So they better get it done.
Yep. So it's coming. I think it's 36 teams. Let's go to the next question. Jeffrey B. It looks like Gensel will play his first game with the Canes today. Yep, saw that. With the additions they've made recently, including Kuzi, what do you see their likelihood of getting out of the East?
I don't know about getting out of the East right now. I think they should just try to get through the second round. Get through there. The positive side is it looks like they're not going to have to play against a wild card team from the Atlantic. But just get through to the second, past the second round, then anything can happen. But they got to get through the second round. My concern for them, it's not Kuznetsov, it's not Jake Gensel, it's not Brent Burns, it's not Sebastian Aho, it's none of that stuff.
Where are you going?
The goalie.
The goalie.
Just tell me what the goalie's going to do.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. Hey, Jimmy, if they knew, they'd be really comfortable. They don't know what the goalie's going to do.
No, they don't. They don't. And I'll tell you, Pierre, I mean, there's so many teams heading into the playoffs that we can say that. It's like a common thing now every year. So it's interesting to watch, but we'll see. All right, next question. David Robinson. Hey, Dave. 2 things I think Pat Maroon will help with: playoff Tkachuk and mentoring Justin Brazeau to develop his grind the opponent down aspect of his games. Thoughts? Yeah, I think Pat Maroon is going to be great for the younger guys in that dressing room specifically. And I didn't even think of Justin Brazeau. That's a good point by you, Dave. But Trent Frederic, he already has a relationship with him. They skate in the summer all the time because Frederic's from St. Louis. He goes back there, and Maroon would skate with him a lot. So he's almost a mentor already to Trent Frederic. And I see a lot of similarities in those guys, Pierre. I think Trent Frederic could be a breakout player in the playoffs. I really do. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, you're not. You're not getting ahead of yourself. We've talked about him ad nauseum on the show. He's had an amazing year. The thing, too, is he's really tight with the Tkachuks.
Yep.
He was in the same draft with Brady. He knows Matthew really well. So, as much as Patty Maroon is a nice addition for Boston, I think Trent Frederic's a guy that might cause a little more problem for Matthew. But Matthew, believe me, Matthew's no shrinking violet, as everybody knows. So, and Sammy Bennett in Florida, again, not enough discussion about him. He's just a nasty piece of business.
Oh, yeah.
He's and I say that in an admirable way, not in a negative way. He's a nasty piece of business, and he's a playoff guy, Sammy Bennett. So they're going to have to find ways. That's what George was saying. I thought he was correct on that. Florida's not a fun team to play against.
No, they're not.
They have an identity right now, Jimmy, and it's a hard-edged, nasty identity, Jimmy. It really is.
The fact that they have it, like he said, throughout this season into the playoffs, whereas a lot of teams, Pierre, sometimes don't form it till they get to the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Well said. Agreed.
Yeah. All right, we're going to do one more question here, and then we got to get to our sponsors and talk about something happening in 48 hours. Evan McLaren, looking in the Penguins' sparse prospect cupboard, Pierre, has Braden Yeager's ceiling risen at all for you this season, or is his production a function of playing on the line with Jagger Furcus?
Jagger Furcus and Braden Yeager, I think that's a great point. I think that's a big part of it, but still, his prospect level has definitely raised. There's no question about it. But Fergus a real good player. Jagger Fergus a really good player. So he'll help anybody. Now, I still would say this, and I heard Kyle Dubas say it when I was there the other night. They got a lot of work to do here. They know it. Now you can blame Kyle and his group for last year if you want to, but before that, you can't. I mean, he had nothing to do with some of the missed drafts they had. So you got to be fair when you're, evaluating where the franchise is right now. It's not in a good place right now. Yeah. So they need prospects. They need players. And how tight I am with Kevin Stevens. And we're very close. He cares so much about this organization, and he'll do whatever it takes to help them get better. Yep. But right now, everybody here knows they got a lot of work to do. I'm in Pittsburgh, by the way, for those that don't know. So everybody here knows that works in the organization knows they got a lot of work to do. I think that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, but at least they're recognizing it. That's the key, right? I mean, at least you're
and yes, they are, but they also have turned certain guys loose. Like if I were an evaluator of an organization, I'd say I want Kevin Stevens' voice to be heard. I want it to be heard a lot. And the reason why I want it to be heard a lot, he knows what it is to be a Penguin. He knows how to identify players. He had 2 boys that were super high-end players in college that injuries obviously set back and never were able to attain where their dad got to. And I think injuries played a big role in that. But he understands the dynamic, Jimmy. He understands the dynamic.
Yeah. He does, and he's so passionate. I love Kevin's passion for that organization. Yep. All right, so listen, we want to tell everybody first of all, 48 hours, less than 48 hours now. We are going to be in Montreal, 1225 Crescent Street at Hurley's Irish Pub, probably the best Irish pub in North America, if you ask me, and I've been to plenty. So I'm a good testament to that. No, but it's a great place, good staff. I'm psyched to see Rod Appleby, one of the owners there, Bill Hurley, the other owner, and the great staff there. We're looking forward to that. We're going to be with our production crew finally in person because they're based in Montreal as well. And we're going to have the great Tony Marinaro joining us. You guys know him from TSN 690. He now does a great podcast, very successful podcast on the Sick Podcast Network. Excited to have that. We'll tee up the Bruins-Habs game. We'll talk other NHL stuff like we always do. So if you're in the area, you're coming to the area, what have you, if you can get there in person. Otherwise, tune in here and you can enjoy from afar. Maybe crack open a can of Guinness, pour it in a pint glass, and get the St. Patrick's Day weekend going. That's 4:00 at Hurley's, 1225 Crescent Street Pub in Montreal. Pierre, I mean, obviously, I'm very excited about this. I can't wait. Also, one of the things I'm most excited about is not just to be back in my second favorite city, but to just meet some of these people that we're interacting with all the time here in the comments section, Pierre.
I agree with you 100%. I'm so excited about it. This has been a great way for me to start the week. I've been in Pittsburgh all week, got here Sunday, hanging out with a lot of my old players, people I really respect and care about. The great people in the city of Pittsburgh, just walking from the rink to the hotel with some of the other guys, just the picture requests, people wanted to talk about the good old days. It really is nice to interact with the fans. It really, truly is. And I'm looking forward to doing that in my old hometown in Montreal. So I'm really excited about it.
And you know what, Pierre? It's a working vacation for me, kind of. I'm going to be combining vacation and work. And I will be spending some time doing my Boston Hockey Now obligations in my hotel room, Pierre. And so you know what I'm doing, because Factor meals are the perfect solution if you're looking for fast upscale options done easily. It's flexible to your schedule. Get as much or as little as you need by choosing 6 to 18 meals per week. Plus, you can pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. No prep, no missed meals. Factor meals are 100% ready to heat and eat, so there's no prepping, cooking, or cleanup needed. I'm going to head over again to factormeals.com and use factormeals.com/itest50 and use the code itest50 to get 50% off. Again, that's factormeals.com, itest50, get 50% off with the code itest50. Pierre, I was like, this is perfect. Road trip, bring some Factor meals. Why not? Get the microwave in the room. There we go.
Agreed.
It's not like the food you ate last night, but
no.
Not many
places.
No,
that was different. So tonight we've got every night at this camp, every day, the players are treated like NHL players. That was Mario's goal, whether it's the way we practice, the way we play, what we eat, how they train. It's a hard, like today the guys were sore. They were tired today. And they'll have to play 2 games tomorrow before they go home on Thursday morning. But it's amazing to see the production that is the Mario Lemieux Fantasy Hockey Camp. It is awesome, Jimmy. I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to work with these players and see, how much passion they have for the game. And they really have a ton of passion for the game.
Well, Pierre, I hope that in the locker room, you could tell that they have said goodbye to their Clover Forest with the Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0. And they've let their confidence shine bright in those locker rooms. Embrace the luck of the Irish and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com right now and use the code ITEST for 20% off plus free shipping. Again, that's manscaped.com. Use the code ITEST for 20% off and free shipping.
I've actually talked to the players about that.
Yeah, it's important.
Just because, look at yesterday, we had a session. Larry Murphy and I stayed behind with some of the players. And we talked about some stuff in the locker room, different matchups, what, Larry was like or what Mario was like. And the guys really had a blast. And they started talking about the podcast, Jimmy, some of the players. Like, is Jimmy really serious about the Manscaped thing? I said, oh, yeah, he's 100% serious. I said, 100% he is. So it was really neat. It was good. But it's been, like I said, to coin the great Mike Lang, it's like smiling like a butcher's dog here every day. It's just so much fun. It's just great. It really is.
Here, you know, Manscaped would come in handy too if any of those guys ever want to pull a Ned Braden on the ice. So, there we go. All right. On that note, we will sign off, and we will talk to you tomorrow. And by the way, another great guest for tomorrow. We have the one and only Jeff Marek from the Jeff Marek Show on Sportsnet. Of course, he's done some Hockey Night in Canada. You can also see his writing at sportsnet.ca. Jeff Marek joining us tomorrow, talk all things NHL here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. He's Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.